This will be a video about Larissa Lai's Tiger Flu, hopefully fairly short. In this video I want to talk about technology and consciousness. On page 277 in one of the chants that the characters say, it talks about the mainframe brain drain. And this is referring to the uploading of the consciousnesses of the inhabitants of the planet to the orbiting satellites. So this isn't necessarily ever answered in the text, but what is the nature of this uploading of consciousness, that people take this Enlight drug and then their consciousness is magically transformed or transferred into this computer? So this is the mainframe, the name of the computer, right? The historical idea of computing technology, and the brain drain, that we upload our brains into this computer. So we can read this either as eternal life in a disembodied consciousness, or we can read it as genocide. Okay, so very, big stakes here. So this idea of the digital upload of the consciousness is not a new idea, okay, but it raises the question of what is the human and what is our relationship to the technology that we have. And I'll spend a little bit of time talking about consciousness, but I also want to talk about just kind of more everyday interactions with technology to see how it works in real time. Okay, so the stuff in the novel, like the starfish and the doublers and all this kind of weird biotechnology, may seem somewhat alien to us as readers if you're not familiar with the science fiction genre. But is that simply because it's a different mode or a different form of technology, right? That are our hospitals with all the machines and beeping sounds and flashing lights and medical instruments, are they any different really in what they accomplish? Like if you didn't know what they did, it might seem like magic as well, in the way that we read the stuff in the Tiger Flu and think, this is really kind of strange. What is this stuff? That we don't understand the technology, but it nonetheless achieves the ends that it's supposed to achieve. So although the technology may seem weird and far-fetched, I think Lai is trying to get us to think about this strange relationship that we have with technology, that some technologies become very familiar to us, yet they do, to an outside perspective, they do very magical or amazing things, and they are, right? Something like open heart surgery, tearing someone's body open, fiddling around with their internal organs. I mean, that's a pretty remarkable thing that's just a recent advent of medical technology. So this idea of technology, just as an example, that we seem to have a very easy relationship with technology. But, the way Lai is using this, it kind of troubles that relationship that we have. So on the one hand, everybody knows this, we should be somewhat wary of technology, that it's tracking us and so forth. But on the other hand, we seem totally at ease with handing over our personal data. I mean, do you ever really read the terms and conditions of software or app updates on your phone? I don't. We just kind of blindly trust it. Oh, nothing's really going to go on there, okay? I'm not saying we should be paranoid, but it's just we get very comfortable with these technological interfaces when we don't necessarily understand them. So, for example, our cell phones track our movements, okay? And it tracks our purchases or interactions online, okay? We have these, home devices like Alexa and Google Home and all these things, which eavesdrop on our conversations, and we're totally fine with that, it seems, and our general internet usage. I mean, these things are all logged and tracked by our ISPs, our internet service providers, and so, our cell phones log our calls and all this kind of stuff. And it just becomes a question of how finely can people track this data? Okay, and again, I'm not trying to sound paranoid here. It's just that this technology exists. This is possible. And what do we think about that? Okay, so, it's an incredibly liberating kind of thing. I don't have to use road maps anymore. I can just throw my phone on, it tells me where to go, right? So there's a great ease and simplicity to this. But at the same time, all this stuff is logged and recorded. To what end? Okay, and this is one of the questions that science fiction always asks. And again, this is not new to Lai. These are really long-standing questions. So this idea of the mainframe brain drain, works in many ways, okay? That how do we rely on our technology, which is actually a deficit to our learning and our understanding, okay? That, for example, our kids these days, people who use technology a lot, are they going to understand, how to navigate with a compass, an older form of technology? If Google Maps suddenly went down, if it crashed, how would people get around? Would they be able to identify north, south, east, west? That what is the relationship of technology as a crutch to our capacity to think critically as autonomous individuals? Okay, and I think that's a really, serious question to ask. Okay, again, I fix stuff around my house like, circuits and cleaning my drains, and when my dishwasher craps out, I go to YouTube and I watch awesome, usually guys on YouTube fixing dishwashers, and hey, I can do that too. It's brilliant. If YouTube disappears, can I fix a dishwasher? Probably not, right? So, I'm not a great repair person, okay? But with YouTube, I am. I feel like I can conquer the world. But, when that goes away, I'm not as smart as I think I am, okay? And this raises kind of questions about our creativity and our critical thinking skills and our intelligence, okay? So all of this points to larger questions about consciousness and what defines the human, because this novel is challenging this idea of the human. And so there's been lots of interesting philosophical questions raised about this. So, the mainframe brain drain in the text at the end is this idea of uploading consciousness that is literally draining the brain from the human shell, the biological shell, into a computer simulation.